Well, for more on this story, we can head now to London and speak to Zoe Gardner from the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants. Thank you very much for joining us here on France 24. First of all, do you have any more details to share about the current situation in Afghanistan and the number of people being airlifted out of Kabul?
I'm afraid there's very little information about who's being able to get out. Ourselves at JCWI and other colleagues who work with refugees across the UK are receiving desperate calls. Every minute we've got calls coming in from people either who are here in the UK and have family that they're desperate to help escape from Afghanistan, or from people over there asking us, is there any way to evacuate us? And unfortunately, we have no idea how to help these people. It's a terrible situation.
Some of the very first flights out of Afghanistan have, though, landed on European soil. What more do we know about the preparations and the efforts being done to house and look after them? And is enough being done?
Enough is certainly not being done. So the UK government has announced that it will resettle 5,000 Afghan nationals this year. That's an absolute drop in the ocean compared to the need. What's good about the resettlement scheme that we have in place is that people do have safe homes to arrive in straight away in the UK. The local authorities are funded to support them when they arrive, and that's very positive. But the numbers are simply nothing to do with the need that we're seeing. And what's really vital, and I think it was captured in your report just now, is that Taliban forces appear to be preventing people from trying to escape via the airports. The reality is that people in desperate situations are going to have to escape by whatever means is possible. And that will include making irregular journeys, making use of smuggling networks. And it's really important that we in the UK and in the rest of Europe, that we keep our doors open to people who are seeking to reach us, whether it's through an official resettlement scheme or whether it's people who have desperately managed to escape off their own means. No matter how people are escaping this awful situation, we need to keep our hearts and our arms open to receive them.
Just on that point, many people watching this bulletin might be wondering what on earth they can do at home to help these people flooding out of Afghanistan. What advice would you give them?
I would say that it's really important at the current time in the UK to put pressure on our political class to withdraw the bill that they have currently through Parliament. So at the moment, they have a bill that proposes to criminalise refugees who make these desperate, irregular journeys to come and seek protection on our shores. They're planning to make it much, much harder for any refugee to get protection here. And it's really important that we take this example of this crisis to demonstrate exactly as I said, it's not possible for people to join an orderly queue in this situation. It's not possible for, if you're an Afghan person and you're at risk of being targeted by the Taliban and you hear that the UK is going to take in 5,000 people, are you going to take your chances and sit around and wait to be one of those lucky 5,000 under the current circumstances? Or are you going to take your family and try your best to run by any means possible? And we need to write to our MPs and urge them to throw out the bill before Parliament that would criminalise people trying to make those desperate journeys.
Just one final question. As the Taliban's foothold apparently deepens in Afghanistan, what are your immediate concerns for the future? Might we see a huge influx of people coming out of Afghanistan in the coming days and weeks?
Well, I think it's important to emphasize that Afghanistan has been one of the key countries of origin for refugees coming to Europe for the last decade and more, because it's been a highly unstable situation there with high risk from the Taliban even before now. So Europe has been receiving refugees from Afghanistan, and some European countries have shamefully at times been trying to deport people back. What we need to do now is absolute moratorium across Europe on all returns to Afghanistan. Anybody who has an outstanding asylum claim, they need to be granted immediately from Afghanistan, because there's no prospect of safely returning people. And most importantly, we need to make sure that our leaders have learnt the right lessons from 2015, when there was a mass influx of refugees fleeing from Syria. There was a total catastrophic failure of solidarity in that moment across Europe. And we saw people drowning in the Mediterranean, and we saw people taking awful journeys on foot across Europe trying to find somewhere that would take them in. The response needs to be a much more coordinated, generous, realistic response this time. We need to take these people in and immediately put them into a dignified, procedure to offer them asylum and offer them the chance to build a new life in Europe, and not keep passing the buck and trying to push responsibility for this desperate situation to other people. We are all implicated in the situation in Afghanistan, and we need to step up to our responsibilities to refugees.
Zoe Gardner from the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants. That's all we have time for. Thank you very much.